So this kid had a father. This kid had a mother, had a loving family, and chose gangs. I had a lieutenant that I tried to save himself from a 128. We all fell into that stereotype of what internal affairs was.
Welcome back to Internal Affairs, a police podcast here with the IA guy. And a little bit of an introduction of my guest, who, again, they're all special. We already know that. We've established that we're all just awesome law enforcement officers, if you will. But CJ here and I actually, we worked together back in the days, pushing the sled in the mean streets of West Los Angeles. And so we're going to have some fun and get to know CJ a little better. So just stand by for a really good one. Okay, Code 6 with CJ. Hey, bro, thanks for showing up, man.
It's good to see you, man. You looking good as always.
I'm trying, what I do remember. Well, there's a lot of things I remember about us back in our days, but it's just the BJJ, man.
Yeah.
That kind of. People swear by this method, if you will, in today's policing. So let's just get that out of the way. And I suppose I can ask you, before we get into all this internal affairs stuff, is that, let me ask you, how important do you think BJJ is with police functions as it relates to a possible application of a use of force?
First of all, I believe it's an answer. It is, and I've been doing jiu-jitsu since 1997.
Right.
And I learned the hard way. I got my butt kicked by a 300-pound guy that looked like he ate donuts. And at the time, I was bench pressing 300 pounds. I said, I'd kick your butt. And he happened to be the instructor. And he just mauled me in 30 seconds. So I wasn't comfortable with that. So I said, let me find your smaller students, just because you're 300 pounds.
Right.
So a 140-pound kid tied me up in 30 seconds, had me tapping out the same way. And I was like, thank God it was them than somebody in the street. Because I was doing all this Steven Seagal wrist lock stuff, and I thought I was like just badass, if I could say that, right?
Of course, you can say whatever you want.
Then I got exposed, and I said, thank God this never happened to me in the field. So I got into MMA. I started studying jiu-jitsu. I've been around. Machado, so I got my purple belt from Joe Moreira. I got my judo black belt recently, and I'm up for my black belt promotion at Gracie University. And with Henry and Hidon Gracie, and what an honor. And I'm here to tell you, we have uncovered a methodology that shows that jiu-jitsu works for law enforcement. And the reason why it works is, aren't you tired, public, of seeing somebody get punched in the face when they didn't need to? A lot of times it's not because the officers are just bad people, Right. It's because they want this thing over and they don't know what else to do. And what I'm trying to say is they don't know how to fight. With jiu-jitsu, you don't have to know how to fight. You just have to know how to hold and be patient. You hold the suspect down. You take him into custody without punching. The citizens are happy. They know it's effective. So that's why I'm trying. That's my last hurrah here. I'm trying to push jiu-jitsu to bring it in. Other agencies that bring it in, it's our turn.
So you got gotten by a 300-pounder. Is that what we're saying?
A man that looked like Judo Joe Charles, a legend, but a man that looked like he lived on donuts.
He got you.
Got me. I can tell you, well, it gets worse. Can I do it?
Hit me.
Okay,
hit me. This is your episode.
Have you ever got your butt kicked, right? And you didn't believe it, right? So I said, I didn't believe it.
You went home thinking.
I was like, no, maybe because the sunrise, the yin and the yang wasn't, the mouse was standing on the left. It's got to be something because I didn't do my proper breathing. So I invited Joe Charles. I said, I want you to come to my school in Long Beach, and I want to spar with you again, And this dude comes in, and he's, hey, and he was just so low-key and funny. And I met him at Northeast, that's where I met him at El Pollo Loco, And he comes in, hey, let's go. And he was just smiling. It wasn't 30 seconds, it was like 45 seconds, It's like, and then he had tapped out my other sensei, and just with body weight. And I went home, my niece, who had mental disabilities at the time, she was there. I brought her there to watch, just to be, because I was babysitting her for the day. We get home, and my mother was cooking, and she goes, boy, you look exhausted. What the hell happened to you? And I said, oh, well, Mom, I was just learning new techniques. And my niece goes, Grandma, Cleon got his ass whooped. I was like, what?
You look at her like,
I was like, but she was like, oh, people were very honest. And I just sat there like, oh. And right there, I knew this guy saved my life because I had this false sense of security that Steven Skull Wusha stuff was the stuff.
Working, yeah.
And punching and kicking, somebody can close the distance so fast on
you.
Yeah,
totally.
90% of all fights go to the ground. So that grew me into where I'm at today. I went from being the master archon instructor to eventually being the officer in charge of my arrest and control unit. So now my job is to do what?
Yeah.
My last breath is breeding jiu-jitsu in law.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much, man. Look, that's a really good intro. Here we are. You just got done telling me you ran into our boy Craig Marquez, who was our guest. And I got to ask you this. You saw this Internal Affairs podcast, contrary to the actual title of the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. What did you think?
My thoughts of it, if I can give you one word, two words that is, real and redemptive. What I liked about it, Craig Marquez, his story was a redemptive story, and I think it was mostly about him and what he learned. So he's a guy that survived, took that hit, came back and was able to share with younger officers and the public who are listening to show that, hey, if I can come back from this and be an outstanding officer, which he is, anybody can. And this doesn't have to apply to just law enforcement. It can apply to just life itself.
Yeah.
You can come back and rebound. People don't understand. Take off that uniform. We're just people.
Yes.
And there's a redemptive value when you come back.
No, totally, 100%, man. When you came on the job, I want to say 1997.
I came on in 93, 96.
396.
Second to none. If you can't do it, it can't be done.
You're a 19. You even know your chant.
Yes.
So you're a 396 guy.
I'm a 396er.
And I beg to ask. Here you are in the academy. I know you're trying to graduate, just like I'm like. I just want to get to graduation.
Yeah.
Did anybody from Internal Affairs come in and say, "Hey, we're from IA. Let us tell you what we do"?
They were seeing them at the academy. I call it scared straight.
Okay.
The approach was, it was always about.
So there was something.
There was something. I mean, you get a taste of everything we talk about internal affairs, and it never was at that time it wasn't positive. It's like, if you do wrong, we're coming after you. But they did show the wrongs that people got for. They talked about that.
Got it.
But that's not what you're hearing. All you're hearing is about, what tier do I need? After this, it's like, what insurance tier do I need to be? You cops, you know what I'm talking about, to save my job in case I mess up. After that's it. But it goes further than that, man. My uncle, who got me to be interested in law enforcement, worked as an investigator, So he would tell us horror stories too,
Yeah.
So that you just want to know, when you see them, it was like, oh, they're here, Good or bad, it's like, ooh.
Yeah. And so that's the impression you were left with when you were on probation.
Yeah.
Did your FTOs tell you, man, don't go talk to those dudes? Or
FTOs made it even worse. The internal affairs was the enemy. It's them against us. It's us against them. Oh, they got this guy. They got old Bob over here. For nothing. It turns out Bob. I had a locker room next to Bob. You open up his locker, there's a whole bunch of IA cases in his locker. It's like, dude, I know you know and love Bob, but Bob was messed up.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. So yeah, we all fell into that stereotype of what internal affairs was then. I got it, but it's sad because I never gave him a chance, but I was new and didn't know.
CJ, do you think it's the way we treat each other?
I think it is. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's the way we treat each other, the reason why the negative stigma has been around for decades, even before our times. What do you think?
I think it's the jacket of, once you come out of an IA rap, you survived it and you took your hits. But the problem is your story. That's the one thing about cop stories. It carries with you the rest of your life, And it's like your scarlet letter.
Yeah.
When it shouldn't be that way, Not me. I believe if you took your lumps and you admitted it, it's washed clean. Matter of fact, you're a better asset to the department because, like Craig, you can help people, But I hate it when we shame and demonize these guys when they're back. Now, if they're fired, they're gone. They're gone. That's it.
Correct.
Their reputation ends there. So I can't help but to feel one way because that's the end of their story.
Right.
You think of people like Rafael Perez and all those guys.
Yeah. during
where do I find love for those guys? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
like, okay, you've stained the badge, but the people that have done things and took their hits. I think I heard your last guest say something like being at the beach. You know,
Yeah.
took their hits. If you let them back in, you're a liability when you persecute them even more.
Yeah.
When you don't give them jobs that they deserve. They're a better asset because they have credibility and survived it.
Yeah. What can we do to kind of get away from that negative stigma?
I think we've come a long ways. I think we're, in my opinion, and looking at my agency, I think we're moving. There are a lot of things we can say that are wrong externally or right socially. We can have that conversation all day long.
The machine is not well run. We get that.
But I do feel like, and this is my personal opinion,
it's not perfect.
The command is moving in a way where it's becoming more. Let's be more logical about this. You know, we can still have our gripes on the balance system of how complaints are put out, days off, and this, that, on scales.
Yeah, got it.
But what I'm seeing is I'm talking about in the last 3 to 5 years, I'm seeing a changing of the guard. The older guards are kind of falling away, and these newer guards are looking at it from a people aspect approach. It's not perfect, but I feel like when I leave 10 years from now, it's going to be what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, good point. If you're in a room full of sergeants and they're getting ready to begin their internal affairs assignment as an investigator, what's the one thing you would want them to know about that job?
So in my book, looking at it as a 52-year-old veteran now, you're a hero. Number one, it's the job that nobody wants to take because you'll be tagged as a bad guy. First level supervisors, believe it or not, you're part of internal affairs. You know, and I don't know if you've had this experience where you've had to work with people and they knew you when you were P2 or P3, and then you put on that stripe, and now you have to investigate. And now you're the bad guy.
Oh yeah,
bro. We just grappled together yesterday.
Yeah.
But you get this look. Yeah. You are saving the department. You'll never get a trophy on the wall for it. Let's face it. There'll never be your picture on the wall for the yay, you know. But understand that the work that you do, and I know some friends that work in internal affairs, and the stories that they share with me, I'm like, thank God you work there.
Yeah.
Because the fact that our agencies are doing what they're supposed to do saves the public perception. If we don't get ahead of it and nip it in the bud. See, the public, I don't think, knows half the stuff that goes on in internal affairs.
They don't.
If they only knew.
If they only knew. to your point, one of, again, several reasons why we launched this podcast is because everything that we do in terms of transparency, and you can agree with me on this, is for the public's eye.
Yeah.
Right? So we have now like assembly bills and laws that says, hey, if you get in a critical incident, OIS being the most popular, we got to let the public know within a certain amount of days, right?
Yep.
We have Senate Bill 2 now, the SB 2. Hey, you know what? You do something wrong, what we call the 9 deadly sins, you're up for decertification. We can kind of suspend and revoke your license. You know, here we go. And we're always at the public eye, and we preach transparency, transparency. But hold on a second. What about internal? That's my point. You want transparency, here you have it. And what we don't do is talk about it in-house. We don't talk about these things. And I really feel, and I appreciate you showing up to have that conversation. And hopefully that someone's watching or listening can learn, like with Craig's episode, about how the culture and how is it that we can get away and we're so evil and so bad when in reality, you kind of need them, right?
Right.
I mean, there's bad apples.
You know what? I'll be the first. And this is to my community, and I say this with wholeheartedness. I wouldn't trust law enforcement if they just hung on and thought every law enforcement officer was good and just perfect angels and stuff like. No, just like any other profession, firefighters, doctors. You know how much malpractice goes on in the medical field. You know, but we don't. There's no marching for doctors, right?
Yeah. How about that general contractor working on your house?
Yeah, we don't march, but we march for police officers. You know why? And you know why it is? Because we're the only profession that saves lives, but has to tell you no from time to time.
Yeah,
it's not sexy. So anytime we get in trouble, it's more of like a public pushback. Now take that, you son of a bitch police officer. You know.
Yeah.
And that sucks. You know, we're still saving lives. It's just unfortunately we're the ones that have to stop you and say, "Ma'am, you ran that stop sign," right?
Yeah.
And of course, at that moment when you're stopping the citizens for a stop sign, to them it feels like they're Inquisition, you know.
Yes.
And they go home and they're like, and then I get in trouble and it's like, yeah, you know, you darn firefighters, you're just way too sexy.
That's right. Yeah, I think one of my guests said it best. If you want to be liked, go be a firefighter.
Exactly. And that's why I think our young recruits nowadays, I tell them I am their first use of force lecture when they see me, because I'm
Okay.
the officer in charge of use of force in my unit, arrest and control.
Okay.
So I give them their first lecture, and I tell them either you guys are super intelligent or super crazy to take the job as law enforcement, you know, because I mean that in a term of motivating. I'm not trying to scare them out of the job,
Right.
but it's heroic in this moment after all we've been through in that civil unrest to want to be a police officer. It's amazing.
Well, and in addition to that, would it be fair to say that the expectation of a police officer back in 1996 and in 1998, in my case, was far less than what it is today?
I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. Back in our day, if we testified against a suspect, it was like, he did it. The jury was like, yep, all right. Boom.
Have a nice day.
Not having that. How long was our reports such as domestic violence or use of force reports? It wasn't even like a paragraph, you know. The trust was there. But
Yes.
after things like Rodney King, OJ, which involved an investigator who happened to say
The Rampart scandal.
the Rampart scandal. When public trust left, our pages got longer and longer and longer.
Yes.
You know, our complaint system changed.
Yeah, consent decree.
Consent decree had changed everything. Yeah, we were arrested during that consent decree.
That's right.
And that was very hard for law enforcement officers. We lived that, you know.
Yeah, we did.
So remember, they stole donuts at us, but
Yeah.
it took the North Hollywood caper to like us again.
Yeah.
But now after George Floyd, that wasn't even us.
Yeah.
They hate people. The public hates our guys.
Oh, yeah. We're painted with a...
With a fine, you know, people actually think that we all train out of some hub underground.
Yeah.
Me, I train with Kentucky. Or I train. That is just insane,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And some people know what it is. They're just angry,
Yeah.
you know. So that's
Yeah.
why that civil unrest was so hard, because at that time, just before, I remember our mayor talking about how bitching we were. How, you know,
Yes.
and it's
Praises.
like praises. And right in the middle of it, George Floyd happens, and I remember
Yeah.
I'm sitting next to a police officer, and we're watching this, and we're both saying, this is some BS. And we're sitting next to citizens like in a restaurant. We're all looking at it the same way. But instead of taking that moment to say, we're together here, you broke us. I'm just saying, it is what it is.
Yeah, no,
And I don't mean the public. I mean our politicians.
Oh, no, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more from that lens, if you will. What I will say, that incident it's historical. It's a
Yes, of
landmark
course.
for sure, 100%. To the point where my daughter, you know, she's getting ready to turn 20 years old, but at that time she was like 16, 17. We've never, ever shared. I've never had a conversation with my daughter about law enforcement or work or anything like that.
Yeah.
And we were driving one day and we had a conversation about what happened in the George Floyd incident. And the first thing, you know, and I was preparing my response because, you know, I got to dummy it down. I can't get, you know, can't get all cop lingo on her.
Right.
And so what I told her, I said, look, what I will tell you, Sophia, is that technique, like putting your knee on someone's neck, I don't recall that being taught when I went to the academy.
Exactly.
And so let's just start there.
That's awesome.
Right? Before we go anywhere else, because you start thinking to yourself, and I remember I had a case when I was, not to, you know, to deviate a little bit, but there was this use of force case that ended up at a border rights, and these guys were facing like termination, and someone did a technique where the suspect was, they had the suspect in custody and handcuffs, and they actually had the officer with his his foot on like the small back, on top of the small back of the suspect. So for every time that they actually lifted him, he would put pressure. I'm not going to mention any divisions.
Of course not. But I think I know what you're talking about.
77. And so,
I know.
and so what ends up happening is, you know, as I'm watching this, I'm preparing, you know, well, my partner had the case where we are looking at it. And back then, I'm taking you back to, you know, 2010, 2009,
Okay.
back then. But my point is that, well, they didn't teach us that technique.
Right.
So you always got to go back, and you can appreciate all this because you teach tactics, you teach arrest and control. And my thinking is that if we don't teach you something, chances are you're going to get like jammed up about it.
Yes.
You're going to get gotten.
There's always a gray area in martial arts techniques. There's always, and we can explain that away.
Right.
But if we say, once the suspect's handcuffed, you get your body weight off him.
Yeah.
2014, and you still put your body weight on him, and you're punching.
No divisions.
Tell
No
him,
divisions?
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And you tell, but it's in my use of force video, and you tell them to go look left, look right. So I punch him a little more. We don't teach that. And then you got the nerve to call somebody like me to sit on your board. Archon will defend me.
You're like, no.
Are you out of your
mind?
mind? It's like, really, bro? It's like, no, I'm not. I didn't drink the Kool-Aid like that.
Yes.
If I say this to all my officers.
Yeah. Good point.
If you're doing your job, me as an SME, when I come to your board, I'm gonna fight for you to the fullest. Mm-hmm. But I can't defend wrong. And when it's all said and done, whatever's dealt out, when you come back, either I'm training you with love, or you're out of here. That's just the way it is.
Yep.
It's just the way it is.
Hey, thanks for that. I appreciate all that. A trip down memory lane, right? Well, before we get to a trip down memory lane, besides learning jiu-jitsu, how do you prepare for a job, in your opinion, to be an IA, to be an investigator? What kind of advice would you give someone? Someone comes up to you and says, hey, Sarge, I'm getting ready to start this. I'm going to IA. What do you think I need? How do
I check your ego at the door, first of all, for real. I want you to go. I have this term when I hit work. I go blank. When you're blank, you're like an empty cup. So whatever information that you receive, it's raw information. You have to process it from like an empty cup perspective. You can't go and leave your P2, P3 patrol hanging out at queues, whatever. Leave that perspective out the door. Leave your cronies out the door and go in with an empty cup. That if you go in with an empty cup and an open mind, you'll become an asset because remember, I tell young officers, when you become a supervisor or an IA, you are now a fact finder.
Yeah.
So F your feelings, it's about facts. And then once you get the facts, then you hand it off to where it needs to go, and then it comes down. So hey, you're not the hammer, but you are the investigator. Yeah. So keep an open mind, and just remember, you accepted this job. Yeah. It is a heavy bear because you may not be liked, but you are bearing the weight on. The department needs your investigative skills, so we can weed out the ones that we don't need, train up the ones that kind of messed up, and we need to get them back into the fold, or reward guys that, hey, he didn't do this. Remember, that's our job too. I don't want to keep it all negative.
Yeah, no, totally.
We definitely want to think about that. Yes.
I like that. Thank you for that. A trip down memory lane. So, man, look at you, almost 30. You're 28 years.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Getting there, man. And you and I pushed a sled in West LA as P2s, right? Police officers. Were you an FTO?
I didn't make FTO, but I did work gangs.
Okay, I know you were gangs, so you went straight from P2 to a sergeant.
Well, no, I did make P3. I did make P3.
You got your stripes.
I got my stripes somewhere.
Got it.
During media relations. I can't remember.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
And then how long you been a sergeant?
Been a sergeant since 2013.
Okay, well, I got to ask you, so here you are promoting to get to make sergeant. Did you prepare, or did you do anything? Did you go visit someone, or you thought to myself, man, you know what? I got to ball out and just crush it on this aura. I'm just wondering.
The first oral interview, I'll tell you, and this is we're about learning stuff, so I'll share. You guys can laugh at my expense, bros. All right, and brosettes, check it out.
Just don't put the camera on me, but go ahead.
So the first time I took the first sergeant's exam, just because, it's not that I even wanted to be a sergeant. It was just let me see how I can take this test, Took the test, and ironically, I was like, I really passed this thing, dude, I'm like a 6-year warner, whoa, So, okay, let me take it seriously now. I passed, so I started studying, and I was cramming like I was a kid in college, like a crackhead, just and I remember my oral interview coming up, and I didn't sleep the night before.
Yeah.
And I was hyped up on energy drinks. 5 Hour Energy just came out. I was just hyped up.
That's my Ghost, bro. That's what I had. Ghost.
I'll tell you, I'm clean from that now. I'm clean and sober from that now. But so I'm hyped up. I'm hopped up. And then remember in college, I took this thing called no-dose because I was so tired.
Right.
I took the no-dose the day of my oral. So I get there, I'm in uniform, and I'm jittery, right? I'm shaking. I just can't stop the shakes. So this beautiful older woman walks up to me and says, "Hey, baby, I'll be on your oral. And I want you to calm down. I want you to take your time. I want you to answer the questions slowly. We have all day." And I was literally like the first one, right?
Okay.
And I had a lieutenant that was there and a captain. I can't remember. You probably
It's okay.
remember.
No names.
No names.
We good.
So I sit back and I'm like, "Well, my name is Cleon Joseph, and the reason why I want to be a sergeant. Can you just get to the point?" "Okay, ma'am. All right." So I started to answer the question again. Just get to the point. We got to be here all day. At the fifth time she cut me off.
She interrupted you?
Abruptly. She cut me off.
Condescending.
It was condescending, and it was shocking to me because she was so sweet in the beginning. I thought she was going to give me peppermint from her purse. That's how sweet she was.
You got gotten.
I got gotten.
Is that worse than the 300-pound?
That was a different kind of jiu-jitsu.
So you got JJ.
It was like checkmate. So I was so mad. Now, one thing about me is I'm a very humble, passive guy.
Yes,
but
you are.
when you BS me and I've had enough, it doesn't matter what your rank or who you are.
Yeah.
And I put my pencil down. And I said, "Ma'am, I've worked really hard on this oral interview. And for you to cut me off for the fifth time is disrespectful." The captain went like this. The lieutenant was like this because they couldn't defend me, right?
Right.
And I got up. It's like a Dave Chappelle episode, bam, when keeping it real goes wrong, right? So just out of curiosity, I waited a few years just to see, just about a year or so, just because you can go check your results, right? Just to see where I landed.
Right.
Because I knew I didn't make it. I think I was like 21. It was horrible, right?
Oh, wow.
It was like, but I learned from that.
Yes.
I learned from that, and I realized that number one, people are people, and no matter what, that's where I learned to keep my demeanor. I remember I was young and I probably wasn't mature enough yet.
Okay.
So I spent more time. I learned more aspects of the department. Now going back, I remember I probably was saying some crazy stuff on oral. Yeah. "I'll have everybody stand up and roll call. I'll have, to then working in the building, working for the chief, working in media relations, understanding how the department works. That next oral was so different because now instead of just me going from literally crashed to training division, I forgot what patrol was, to try to be a sergeant.
Yeah.
It was me that messed up the oral. So I don't blame the old lady from getting on me, but I learned, right?
How about some flowers?
Yeah.
Anybody get flowers?
Yeah. Well, I owe her some huge flowers, but the second oral, he wants me to remind you, everybody. Check this out. He's got his guns flashing. There's a system that, Marlon, you're funny, man. A system, because I wanted to win, I went to the Bradbury building, a place that I was scared of. I love this. I'll share that story in a minute. But I went there and we had this training, and he showed me the format to answering not just law enforcement questions. I took that and showed people in recruitment when I go to college how to get jobs with that format. Answer the question, tell a story, and bring it home to how you'll be an asset to your agency. And man, when I came back and I also run into a few mentors that really gave me some tips from the Eagles perspective, not from the lower perspective. Mm-hmm. Put that together, bam. I celebrated. I don't even know if did I call you or that? Well, I'm thanking you now if I didn't. Thank you, bro.
Man, I just want to know.
I think I banded in like 8 or 9,
yeah,
but high enough to get on.
That's right.
And I was impressed with myself. In fact, I ran over to the commander at the time, gave him a big hug. And I was like, dude, I did it, and I don't know if I was more happy that I did it, that I beat myself last time, because you're your only opponent. Yes. The only opponent in his life is you.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
And then it was time, because I had the knowledge and the experience, and I actually deserved to be a supervisor. That second time, I didn't want to be a supervisor, just to see if I could beat it the last time.
Right.
But I ended up, I feel, being a very good, reasonable supervisor, and that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, no, totally. And
yeah.
I
Thank you.
I need flowers, bro.
You got skills.
Okay, a little bit, just a little bit.
I got a gift for you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Let me ask you this before we wrap up a trip down memory lane. Is there one job or assignment that you wish you had before you wrap it up? Because I know you're going to wrap your career pretty soon. But what's that one job that you probably thought to yourself, man, I wish I would have worked over here, if any?
No, I'll tell you what. I am blessed to be where I'm supposed to be. You're looking at a sergeant that's an SME in charge of a coveted unit, that teaches officers how to save lives by using their hands in defensive tactics. Yeah. I don't want to go anywhere else. Oh, Joseph, you got to promote to lieutenant. No, I'm happy right here. You're not stressing me out with that. I am living right now my best life. I've done everything I wanted, and when I did crash, I didn't want to do that. I was forced into that one.
Right.
But I've done everything I wanted to do on this job, and I'm living my best life now. The stuff I'm able to bring in and usher in, and what job can you tell a chief, hey, that might not be the right place to go, and it's up to you to listen to me, but you paid me to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Why would I want to go anywhere else for that?
Yeah.
I thought about going back to media relations, but I'm me in the media. I have work in that. I thought that would be a sexy job, but it's not as sexy as.
No, I worked media. I was a PIO for 2 years.
It literally, seeing how the media changed, and
it's not sexy.
It's nothing, not sexy.
Yeah.
So I am living my best life now. Maybe retire and help out as a reserve.
Absolutely.
In that capacity.
Interesting you say that, because I always say this when I teach First Savage Training Group, my internal affairs officer involved shooting investigation course. The majority of audience are sergeants. I really honestly feel, not because we're a big agency, but just even in a small or medium size agency, sergeant is the best job.
It still is the best job, and I think the best job is Sergeant 2 over a specialized unit.
Oh, no, 100%.
100%.
Because here's the deal. When you are an SME, I'm going to tell you right now, if you walked in on Monday and said, you know what, Deuce, I'm out. Well, hold on a second.
It's funny you said that.
Wait, your lieutenant's going to be a whole, wait, and then your captain says, you can't let CJ. CJ can't leave.
That almost happened, bro. That almost happened. I had a. I had a.
People don't understand that. People leave you alone. I always use the example of a taser guy. There's one sergeant in LAPD that knows everything about tasers. I'm talking contracts, the procurement process, testing, deploying it, everything. And if that dude said on Monday, you know what? You guys are pissing me off. I'm out. Whoa. You hold on a second. You can't leave. Because that's how essential and how vital that position is. What's your thoughts?
This actually happened to me, and there's so many stories we can talk about. But
right.
This is fun. I had a lieutenant that I tried to save himself from a 128 who took it wrong, and I did it right. I took him in a room, and I told him, hey, you're not supposed to talk to recruits like that, da-da-da-da. Okay, thank you very much, Then he would call me on days off and harass me. What did she say? What did the recruit say? I'm like, whoa. Well, I went Cleon on him again. I was like, hey, unless a recruit died, do not call me on my day off.
Yeah.
And then I told him, I said, because he's talking like a tough guy. I said, I can bring one of my female instructors to grapple you, and she would tie you in the knot. I literally, because I didn't care anymore.
Right.
I was like, so he was making my life miserable. He was trying everything he could to stir up problems, issues. No need to go into all of that. But at the end of the day, I literally quit during a run on a PT. We were running the recruits to the beach for their graduation, and he was trying to cook something up for me.
Okay.
He goes, yeah, have Sergeant Joseph come to the office. I'm ready to sauce him up. Sauce him up, right? I got to the beach, and I looked in the air. I looked in the air. I quit. I called a commander. I called a friend from the league. I called two other people, and they all happened to be at this same women's convention at the same time. And they're like, "What?
Oh, hell broke loose!"
Oh, the phone starts ringing. It's like it's like, whoa, what? I get home, the same captain that refused to talk to me. Oh, I'll talk to you now.
DEFCON level 7.
It was like, but you know what? It was my Samuel Jackson moment, and that's the one thing I realized I'm worth something, because that they ended up admin transferring that guy because they started a ombuds work study thing.
Yeah.
And all the stories, it wasn't just me, but he came for me.
You're right.
And everything came out, and he ended up leaving the job. And I guess he's running a pizza parlor somewhere.
Yeah. Interesting. Which leads me to an story. Look, when you made sergeant, you were a patrol sergeant.
Yeah.
You had to do a lot of intakes. You got like story where we can get some lessons learned, or something that we can get some takeaways from this internal affairs process,
You know
if you
what?
will.
I don't think this is like the most exciting story, but it's cute at the same time. You ever have that guy in your division that he always gets out of trouble? You know, they call him Teflon, So I was working on the west side as a supervisor, working with the slows. And I get this, I was on vacation and the crow sergeant was supervising my unit at the time. I get back from vacation and I get this like a complaint.
Yeah,
Like,
you got a face sheet.
I got a face sheet. I'm like, well, Joe, we want you to, here's the intake. I want you to investigate. I'm like, okay. Oh, it's my guy. I'm like, oh, okay. And this guy is the mayor of his area,
Yeah.
And I love him. We're friends to this day, right?
Yes.
It's funny. Records clerks know everything. So I walk to the crow office because I'm going to talk to the other sergeant.
Yeah.
And they're all like, uh-oh, you got Teflon. I'm like, what? What do you mean by that? Oh, he gets out of everything, right? It's like, oh, yeah, who's going to get him? Who's going to get him, right? It's like, no, I'm a fact finder. I'm not trying to get anybody, but tell me about this Teflon. They started running, oh, he got out of this one. He got out of that one. There was filming. He got out of this. It was like, whoa.
They just threw him.
It's like, I'm like, whoa. And sure, and he embraces the name, now I know because
So he's empowered.
he called himself Teflon.
Got it.
And now I know why, right?
Got it.
So it's this, and this, the lesson is the importance of your questioning and your investigation. So it was me. So I pulled him in for the interview, and it involved, I guess, he didn't check out a car, he didn't sign in. He was supposed to be at a community meeting in the later part of the evening, but wherever he was, he, instead of a car, he was driving around in his, let's say, Corvette, 60 miles an hour, and some citizens saw him doing that. So he gets out of the car at a stoplight, and he's literally getting dressed. Literally, like, tucking his pants in, I don't know where he came from, right? But he probably wasn't where he's supposed to be.
Right.
And he ends up going to the community meeting, but some citizens saw him, and they were like, hey, this doesn't look right. And I think he's a senior lead because he has,
Right.
Like,
He's a senior lead officer.
The little patch. So I'm like, okay, did all my fact finding, brought him in for the interview. And again, nothing explosive. I just asked him about 7 simple questions.
Fundamental questions.
And I got the old Teflon answer. I don't recall. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't. It was like, but there was one question, I can't remember what it was, but I stuck him on it. And I think when I talked about the other sergeant, giving him permission to go this, that, and the other, and did you check out his squad car, I think that got him. But he still held tough. I get home that night, and about 10 o'clock at night, he calls me. Hey, Sarge, can we redo that interview? I think I want to redo, right? I'm like, okay, fine, right? So we play the tape again, and he cops out to just about everything. Everything. It was chill. So he ended up getting 2 days, and I remember walking into the records office, and all the records clerks were like, yeah, because like, you got him, right? But what was even funnier was, I was like, it's not about getting him. It's like, he walks up to me and he goes, I appreciate you, Sarge. You got me, man. But I say, I'm gonna take this vacation. Can you put these 2 days right here?
Yeah.
And to this day, you know why I love that guy? Because he's a real person. And to this, we're friends to this day. And there's no judgment. He took his hit.
Yeah.
And he is still, in my mind, one of the best souls I've ever seen act.
Yeah.
In his area, and it is what it is. So it's so important to open your mind, go blank, and become a fact finder, and the truth will avail itself. Nobody wants to lose their job off of lying or perjuring themselves.
Right.
Instead of just hammering him right there, I gave him the out to do the redo.
Yes.
And it worked out, and I still had, until his retirement, I still had one of the best senior leader officers outside of my brother that I've ever seen.
Did you do you recall that after that incident, did he kind of was a little bit more receptive to the kind of duties, or I suppose maybe his attitude, his character?
I feel like he finally had someone that called him on it, and then he knew that there was somebody that was going to call him on it but not berate him. And I think I got an even better employee that I already had.
Yes.
In fact, when I did roll call, he was leading roll calls. Instead of
that's awesome.
Instead of whining, when I asked him to do something, now it was just, I got you, Sarge, I got you, Sarge. So that was a beautiful thing. So that's why it's so important.
Yeah.
And it's the way you do it. Don't be condescending in your investigations.
Yes.
I've seen it done the wrong way, on border rights and everything. And I've seen it done the right way. Just go blank.
Yep.
Let the facts speak for themselves.
Would you agree with me that the punishment's not the penalty? The punishment is the process?
I think it's too long. That's the punishment. I think we can get through these investigations a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
I think if the facts speak for themselves, let's get it over with. I think it's almost criminal. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
To have these officers sitting it out, stressed out for however long these investigations go, right? So the worst thing you can, because this officer's sitting here and he may be still out in the field.
Yeah.
He can't function tactically because he's wondering if he's going to save his job, how many days off he's going to get, holding on to that shame, watching the rumor mill build up. Mm-hmm. So I think it's so important that we get this done within reasonable time so we can dish out what we're going to dish out, save, preserve, train, or even if we have to, fire. But when they come back, get them back on track. That's so important. So I think the crime is, my opinionated crime, not the real crime, is the delay and how long it takes. And I know we have a lot of capers and stuff like that. I get that. But I've watched these guys suffer on minor stuff. It's the minor ones that should be good. It's even the ones where they should have been, what's the term when demonstrably false?
Yes.
Though even the ones that are innocent.
It takes too long.
It takes too long, and that's most of the time, right?
Yeah. The other question I was going to ask you is, do you feel that discipline, misconduct, is a part of mental wellness?
Yes, for the same reason. When you were a kid, and your mom told you got in trouble, you're going to get it. Would you rather get it now or later?
Yeah.
Because if you got it later, you were all thinking about it, shaking in your room, because that's back when you got spanked.
Yeah.
Or wait till your dad gets home, right? So one day I just tell my mom, "Here's the belt, just give me now, because I don't want my dad. Just give it to me now."
Yeah.
It is mental, because you can't function when you're under stress. And now I got a badge and a gun. And I have all these things to worry about, and now I got to go out and mind myself and my partner while I'm thinking about what could happen to me.
Exactly. So, to your point, in the shelf, when we think of mental wellness, we think about suicidal ideations or a partner that you lost because they committed suicide. Mm-hmm. You think about getting involved in an OIS, taking someone's life. Do you feel as though facing discipline could also be on that shelf when it comes to mental wellness? Because
it is, because it's a culprit to lead to those things. When you have decent people that are doing their job and they make a mistake, well, these are the people that go into alcohol or suicide, this, that, and the other. And I'm not saying send them to like a wellness camp or anything like that. But if that's the case, maybe that might help.
Yeah.
Show them that you care along with that, while they're taking their days off. Hey, and we are kind of working on like a wellness cadre, we are working on.
Yeah, no, 100% to your point. I think mental wellness is at the forefront today, 2024. It certainly wasn't like that in 1996 and in 1998.
We suffered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to that point. Worst incident in your career?
Oh God, there's two. And if there's time, I'll share them both, if I can think of it. But one in particular was the first time. The second one's kind of funny. This one is kind of serious. The first time I saw a teenager get I was working in I was in the Echo Park area, and I heard gun pop, pop. It's like 22 hit this kid. We just get there. We get to the scene. My training officer, it's my first couple of months in the field. It's my first time encountering this ever, right? And we're driving, I'm walking around, and there's this kid laying on the sidewalk, and he looks like he's asleep. I couldn't see any bullet wounds or anything like that. I'm just like, get on the sidewalk, kid. That's the one that got He got with a 22. So a 22 goes in, you can't see that he's like, I've been shot Holmes. And I'm like, hey, how old are you, kid? I'm 14. I said, hey, well, we get an ambulance for you. We get him in the ambulance, and he was a gangbanger, and I'm trying to get a dying declaration because he got 10 ringed, and it was 22s. They bounced all the way around your system. He was going to, but he was still functioning. I said, hey man, can you tell me who did it? I have an idea of the rival gang that did it, but I wanted to hear it from him.
Of course. And
he throws up his set. No, I don't snitch, Holmes. He throws up his little set, whatever it was, and then he checks out. We get him to the that's sad, the fact that he was 14 and the fact that, he's in gangs and all this stuff and he was indoctrinated into gangs and that mentality, but it gets worse. He gets to the hospital. And that's the first time I saw a doctor open up a chest cavity. And they're trying to massage his heart. And there was always funny moments in between. They clock him out as dead. The doctor takes off his gloves, right in front of me, and a piece of flesh almost flies in my eye, right? I'm like, whoa. I said, Doc, come on, man. So I'm already like, my TO was like, nothing. He could eat a sandwich. It's all good. I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. But the worst part, I saw the mother and sister crying, like, oh, that's my baby, that's my son, da 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 da. The father came in. Oh, you bitchy mother, you shouldn't have done. I hate you. I'm glad you. I mean, he was so angry. He was glad his son was dead because he tried to pour. Oh my God, he tried to pour everything into him, and it failed. And as a parent, when you try to pour everything into your kid, they go the wrong way. So this kid had a father. This kid had a mother, had a loving family, and chose gangs. My eyes are kind of like watering now thinking about it. Yeah. So I have to tell the funny one before I leave on a sour note. Of course, we've seen babies, SID babies, and this, that, and the other. But the funniest one, we had this. If you remember in West LA in the PBG hood, there was this gangster family. It was a family. Okay. And it was 3 kids. I think one 18, 16, and 13. All of them menaces to society, right? So that was my gang, the PBGs. And one day, one of them was we caught him robbery. Easy, okay? We know he did it. I know where he lives. Let's go get him. Saw him. This little fat kid takes off running. Okay, foot pursuit. No need to even broadcast. I'm like, right.
It's on.
So it's on. So he jumps over this steel fence with the little spokes on it, and he gets his foot caught. That's the first time I saw a leg sever, and he was hanging over just by a thread on the bone over the fence. And I'm like, that's the first time I've seen anything like it. So immediately I'm off officer mode and help mode. I'm like, dude, bro, this is bad. Hey, we got to get you off this fence, So fire department comes down, gets him off the fence, and I'm in care mode. But I'm thinking, but there's a part of me after a couple of days later, man, that was funny. All you had to do was comply. It's me. I'm not the other guys. I'm sorry. I'm Cleon Joseph. I'm the one that's like, come on, we'll put the cuffs on. You know me, And I told him on the hospital bed, why'd you run? It's me. He goes, well, and I just said, dude, look at your leg. All that for this? I mean, you're literally about to lose a severed leg over this. So it's just funny seeing him hop over the fence and that you hear this large crack pop. And I'm like, oh my God. Now, it's not funny that he got hurt. But it's just the idea of years later looking back, I'm like, dude, that was cray-cray. That was cray-cray, right?
That is cray-cray. That is cray-cray. Give me best achievement, best reward, something you're very proud of in your career.
I think the best reward is about to happen to me. I think I'm bringing in Jiu-Jitsu to my agency, and I think we're close to making it department-wide. We're getting there. I've wrote a series of badge notes. I've brought the experts, Henner and Hedon Gracie. We've done a lot of things, and I think we're really close to bringing not only just jiu-jitsu, a method of arrest that prevents positional asphyxia. So I've had a lot of great accomplishments, but I think the fingerprint when I leave out of here is what may be happening within the next year or so.
Man.
Yeah.
Got to come check you out, man.
Come on now.
I'm probably, you could probably get a good 10 minutes out of me.
You look good,
and for the record, when we were in West LA, I kind of remember the PBGs, but I was chilling in the frat row, bro.
Yeah, you were on the other side.
Yeah, come on now. I was on the other side over there.
He was too good looking to work where I was working.
Man, thank you so much for showing up. Look, before we wrap it up, I'm gonna leave the floor up to you. How can we get a hold of you? I mean, tell me where your this studio. You got your own little thing going, and
well, it's CJ's Functional Fitness, where you don't have to be a fighter to feel like one. So let's train. I've been doing this for 20 some odd years alongside of the department, and I'm so thankful for my agency for teaching me the core values and ethics to run a business like I'm running. So. It's www.cjffla.com. That's CJFF as in funky, LA.com. And you can hit me up on Instagram for fitness videos at CJ Functional for all social media. And again, discounts for law enforcement. I love it. City employees, I love you guys. I love training you guys. I think you guys need to be in great shape. I do some jiu-jitsu privates from time to time, but again, I'm leaving it to the big boys, the Gracies. I throw them off to them once they get a good base. So yeah, that's my message, man. Stay in shape because that's part of wellness. Get your jiu-jitsu because that's part of wellness. And then, man, don't be afraid to seek out counselors when you need suicide help. Don't be afraid to talk to somebody, man. I love you guys. I love you. And as long as you're doing your job, I'm your brother. And when you come back, I'm your brother again. I'm the brother that picks you back up, right? But if you're dirty, you got to go.
Any advice you have for anyone who wants to come on to become a cop?
I think the advice is just I think you know what you're getting into. Don't do like myself and my brother did. We got on because we needed a job. It was that recession at the time, and no one was hiring. But I think that's what made us. We were good people. We didn't need the police department to teach us how to be good people. We were already good people.
Yeah.
We just got shot into it, and we just learned, and we became very respected members of the agency. To this day, legendary, right? Especially my brother, nationwide. My thing is, do your research. Know that this is what you want to do. If you're comfortable with having cameras all over you 24/7, don't get mad about that. That's where we're living. Prepared to turn on a camera for yourself, and then just do your job, and you're a good person. You'll be ready. Just keep an open mind. That just understand it's much more workload than what it was. But if you go in knowing that, you're going to be phenomenal. I always say this to these new recruits: they are the better generation. We had a lot of trial by fire. We were able to fail forward. You guys are walking a finer line. So just make sure you're ready. And if you're not physically in shape, shame on you. Because these suspects are training jiu-jitsu too. They're in the grappling studios too. I haven't seen them at Gracie's, but but I've seen them in other places. So you need to be ready to encounter that. 90% of the time is going to be report writing and serving our community. But there is that 10% of the time where you're going to get in that fight, and you're going to have to take the L, and you're going to have to learn to take the L professionally. Once the cuffs are on, it's over, man. Check your emotions at the door. You can't win like that anymore.
My guy, my ace, CJ, man. God, it's so good seeing you. Thank you for stopping by. Look, if you really enjoyed this video, there's another one waiting for you to watch. And like always, show was clear. Please be safe out there. And don't forget to go Code 6. Thank you.